Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Empowered Cancer Patient, my podcast where I like to interview interesting people that will help give you a lot of background and information, both about your diagnosis, about caregiving, as well as potentially giving you some insider tips on how best to go along this journey with the least probable difficulties. And I have one of my favorite people here from social media. Welcome, Elissa Kalver.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and love everything that you're doing. So I can't wait to chat.
Thank you. So yeah, I started following you on Instagram because I thought you just had such an amazing platform, and the humor that you bring to some of the things that you're making fun of are just hysterical. I think the one that we started with, or the one that really just kicked me off, was when you were pretending that you were a an influencer and you were tapping on everything with your nails and including like the chemotherapy, like chair, you're pounding on your port. I mean, I almost fell out of my chair when I was watching it. I mean, what a sense of humor you have. That is hysterical. So tell me a little bit about your journey and how did you get started with your not for profit, We Got This, and with your social media, which is helping so many people.
Oh, thanks. And that makes me so happy that a lot of the comedy I've been leaning into more recently,
Mm,
I've been getting great feedback on. And this makes me so happy because I feel like amongst all of this, as you know, it's just so much. And if we can build community and have permission to also feel joy and kind
yeah.
of laugh together, I think it's amazing. So I started WeGotThis.org, my nonprofit, nearly 5 years ago now, when I was initially diagnosed
Uh-huh.
metastatic de novo breast cancer. And I realized very quickly, being diagnosed right before my daughter's first birthday, when everyone's asking you, what do you need? How can I help? It just reminded me of how it's the opposite when we're pregnant or getting married. And then in this hard time, I've never experienced like having cancer yet,
Right. Sure.
everyone doesn't really know how to support you and you don't know how you want to be supported.
Yep.
And it just felt like there was a gap there. So I kind of sat with that, not for that long. And my fifth round of chemo was when I was like, I came to this realization that as a stage 4 patient, like I am going to be in treatment forever. And if I spend this whole time just focused on that, I will go crazy. And I knew I needed to do something. And that was the piece where I felt the gap. And so
Hmm.
that's what I leaned into with We Got This, which is the first nonprofit gift registry for cancer patients. And it's really for patients, but also for the supporters. So we've expanded into resource directory where you can filter by what other nonprofits you might need, local or national, financial support, retreats, like what
Hmm.
have you.
Hmm.
Even amazing podcasts or other things like that. And then also recommendations of like what
Hmm.
products and services you might need. Like I showed up to my first round of chemo and the nurses were like, oh, did you get those, ice gloves and socks to prevent neuropathy? And I'm like,
Right. Right.
what's
What?
neuropathy?
Right. Oh my gosh. What did your doctor didn't tell you about your treatment? Oh my goodness.
Uh, my initial oncologist was not the best, but I am in great care now at
Okay.
UCLA.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I actually could not agree with you more on that. And I think half of my platform is trying to educate and empower women on all the things that they need to know. In fact, I'm planning on doing a workshop very soon. The 5 most important things to do when you get diagnosed.
Oh, I love
And
that.
I mean, because where do you go? What do you turn to? And after all of these years of hearing, sort of the trauma stories that women have gone through before they actually get to where they need to be, it's heartbreaking to hear. And it doesn't come with a roadmap, cancer, but it should. And so, trying to provide that and provide some more support, so it doesn't have to be that each woman has to reinvent the wheel, right? It should be like standard.
Well, exactly that. And then each nonprofit shouldn't reinvent the wheel. Each doctor shouldn't reinvent the wheel. Like there's
Right.
certain common ground that I think we can all benefit from each other. I got so excited. I mean, we connected previously, and then
Right.
right before we realized we'd both be at Camp Breasty. And so
Right.
I loved watching your talk. And
Uh-huh.
so many of the things that you focus on align so much with everything that I'm living my life for, like my life's mission. So it's really excited to hear about that.
That's so wonderful. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your treatment and some of the pitfalls and promises that you have, or insider tips for people? Because I
Sure.
know you've done beautifully, really.
Thank you. And you know what's interesting about being metastatic and in treatment indefinitely is I've been in a lot of treatments, and I have some friends who are metastatic who have been on the same treatment like so amazingly, and which is awesome.
Mhm. Mhm.
Some like me, I'm on like my sixth line of treatment right now, and they're all so different. And that's what I try to explain to people, like face to face in general,
Right.
when people get confused, like you have a full head of hair, how do you have cancer? You know,
Mhm.
and in the content that I put out, like I think there's a lot of things I know I wouldn't have been comfortable asking someone, and
Right.
so I try to proactively do it. Uh,
Mhm.
Initially, I always explain like my initial chemo was TCHP. And again, I wasn't in the right care team. So
Right.
after getting a second opinion, we dropped the carboplatin. So it really
Mhm.
just been Taxol, Herceptin, and Perjeta,
Okay.
uh, which was definitely less toxic once I had that. And that was what I would consider what I pictured cancer and chemo to be. Like
Right.
that's what I grew up seeing in movies
Were
and
you
TV.
doing the cooling cap?
I did not. I
Okay.
made the decision not to do it
Right.
because of, and I'm glad I didn't for my case, because I ended
Right.
up losing my hair again, like within 6 months after treatment, having to switch, plans.
Right.
So
Right.
for me, it didn't make sense. I actually wrote about this in my book with a friend of mine who, is a touring singer. And for her, it made so much sense to cold cap because you don't get to make the choice once you are bald if people know that you
Right.
have
You can't go
cancer.
back. Right. Exactly. You can't put
Exactly.
it back in.
Yeah, and I think that's like a big piece of, I think, what
Yeah.
what you and I both talk about is like there's no one gift to get a cancer patient. There's no
Right.
like one way to handle treatment. I always use this example because when I get for the bone meds that I get every few months, and I always forget
Neulasta or Zometa,
Zometa,
or
yes,
I think
Zometa.
it's Zometa.
Uh-huh. So thanks. I figured you would know it. So I've been getting that, every few months for the past 5 years. And that's one of the ones that I just have no reaction to. So
Right.
a friend of mine, like, last year was like, I'm gonna get Zometa for the first time. Do you have any tips? And I'm like, oh no, it's no big deal at all. Like, I don't even notice it. Then she's texting
Right.
me that night, like, are you crazy? Like, are you just not human? And I'm like, "No, it's not that, like, I'm tougher than someone else or vice
Right.
versa,
Right. Right.
just so different."
Everyone's different. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Someday, I hope that we have enough scientific understanding of how and why different people react certain ways to different drugs. As an aside, for example, I agree with you. I will have a patient that has been getting Exgeva injections forever and never had, which is what we were using in the past, and never had bone pain at all. And then the next patient, she's bedridden for a day and a half, and she's like, "Why didn't you prepare us for it?" I'm like, "I'm really sorry, we haven't seen this, and we did mention it in passing, but clearly I didn't emphasize it enough." And so you learn from that. But on the other hand, for example, I have a patient that's getting weekly Taxol, right? And she's been getting weekly Taxol for 18 months because she had metastatic breast cancer and it was working. And so that's what she was on for a long, long time. Zero neuropathy, zero. Then I have another woman come in who's 60, doesn't have anything that would tip me off that she would have an immediate problem. One dose, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't feel my toes. My fingers are killing me," or whatever. And you're like, "Oh." So there are studies, but there certainly are not enough. And I don't know that there's enough money in research right now to go after those because I'm not sure they're not really big money studies to the drug companies. But God
Mhm.
knows that would be really nice if we could predict who was going to get the bad nausea, who was going to have the steroid neuropathy, and who was going to all the things. And so it's too bad, but hopefully someday we'll get there. I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime, but um
Yeah, I mean, I think another important piece of that, like, in the meantime of figuring out the solution to it, is for people to understand that it's so different. I
yeah.
like, that was something I really didn't get till I was in the cancer world myself.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's not like, "Oh, there's one treatment for cancer," you
Mhm.
know? I
Right.
didn't even understand the nuances within breast cancer at all. Like,
Right.
I didn't even know the word metastatic. I was, like,
Right.
saying it incorrectly.
Right.
So, once people realize, like, how specific it is, like, even
Right.
within me being HER2 positive, like, I have friends who have other, mutations within it, or, and I'm
Right.
not BRCA or another genetic, it's like,
Right.
there's so many details. I kind of, I think, a little numb to it now, but, like, initially, when
Yeah.
people be like, "Oh, like, my sister-in-law's cousin had the same thing as you," and, I'm like, "Oh, okay," like, they were stage 4, like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, they were definitely stage 4," all the things, like removing their breast, chemo, but they're totally good now in remission, and I'm like, "Okay, well, so most likely they were not stage 4," but
Uh-huh.
people, make assumptions of, like,
Right.
what they picture, and I did that, like, when I was first diagnosed, it was
Sure.
like, "Okay, remove my breast. Like, what do we have to do? Go most aggressive." And then, it's humbling learning more about it.
Yeah.
And it's like you realize you just know none of it. So, I mean, my dream is that, like, for the end of it, that I've focused my life's mission around, which is
Right.
the quality of life living through cancer and hard times.
Mhm.
My hope is kind of going back to what you were saying at the beginning. Like,
Right.
want there to be one place that when someone gets diagnosed with cancer or hears the word cancer of someone else getting diagnosed, they
Yep.
can go to wegothis.org and find every
Right.
resource they could need. And
Right.
I, like, relate that back to when I was diagnosed, and my husband, like, we already knew I had cancer, but we went in and saw the PET scan in person, and that was the piece that, like, he went into full panic attack. So he's, like, breathing into a paper bag as the nurse is, like, apologizing to me, kinda handing me out this, like, folder, and I got this, like, pink copy paper of resources. Of course, it's pink because it's breast cancer.
Right.
And, like, it's like we can do better, but it's not also on doctors and nurses to do that. Like, you guys are doing
Right.
so many other things. So I'm like,
Or it's not even in our control. I mean, at MSK where I was, that, I would have some particular reference sheet that I really like to use, but
"Yeah,
that wasn't, indoctrinated by Sloan. And so we had to use the one that they had. And I didn't think it explained it as well as the one that I had. But, it's tough, especially when you're in these academic facilities that, your hands are kind of tied in a lot of ways. But
totally." I really
um
see that's why I think social media is so powerful. Like, there's
uh-huh.
definitely huge pros and huge cons to it. And we've just found, like, the growth we've been able to do since really focusing on reaching people where they're viewing things,
Yeah.
um, has been enormous. And I felt that so personally at Camp Resty, like, getting to
Mhm.
meet a lot of people in person who mentioned certain reels or posts or things that made them feel more validated. And it's like,
Right.
oh my god, that's, like, the best
Yeah.
compliment, to
Yeah.
get of
That is
people.
great. That is great. Like, all right, I am hitting my target, and that's it. I mean, I feel a lot of the same thing. And my book that's coming out is Calming the Cancer Chaos, and it's actually really the best reader for this would be somebody who was recently diagnosed or a caregiver to somebody who's recently diagnosed, because I do go through all of sort of the basics. I almost call it like a cancer 101 book. I talk about how to put together your group of your support team, and because it shouldn't just be random, and it shouldn't just be, it might not even be the first people that you think of, because there should be some selection there based on personality types even. I talk about how to create your medical binder. I walk through the steps exactly how to put it together. And then there's a whole chapter on pathology and how to read your pathology report and your radiology and all the different types of scans. And I have a whole chapter on all the different types of DNA that you're going to meet along the way and all those things, and treatments, and all the way into survivorship. And so I really, I call this book the book that I wish I had had for the last 26 years to actually hand patients when I first met them.
Yeah,
So, and I'm really hoping that social media is going to help get it out there, because my goal at this point is, forget cutting even. I mean, I'm breaking even with the money at this point. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, and I'm self-publishing. But anyway, but at this point, I just want this in the hands of every single woman that it could benefit from it. You know?
yeah, and I love all that. I mean, I always say, like, the biggest, if I could give one piece of advice, it's about, like, selecting your care team to be the best
Mhm.
fit for you. And again,
Mhm.
back to like, it's not like this is the best doctor. Like this is the best doctor for you. Like, and
Right.
sometimes like there were, you know, people that other people might have liked and that wasn't a good fit for me. Or like at
Absolutely.
the beginning, I was first introduced to the surgeon, which ended up not even being, I mean, I didn't have surgery around my cancer until about a year and a half ago, which was like,
Hmm.
you know, even unlikely. And we did a lumpectomy because of
Right.
being so large and uncomfortable. But
Right.
like, you know, all these things of it being specific matters so much. I love
Hmm.
that you're putting that together. And I'm with you. It's like a lot of these pieces that we do is is to just get the word out so that people
Yep.
know to find the solution because
Yep.
it's confusing. There's no right, like, we don't have a path that we know, I think, yet. Like, if you're outside the cancer community, that you come in and go. I didn't even know what communities existed till like after
No.
my initial treatment.
And there are so many. Don't you wish somebody, you know who I love? Do you know Nancy Novak? Do you know
Yeah, yeah.
Nancy Novak? I mean, she has this newsletter that has thousands and thousands of references in it. It's
Yeah,
actually pretty
I don't know
interesting.
her directly or anything, but I follow that newsletter and get it, and it's, yeah, amazing stuff.
So I'm putting up Alyssa's Instagram here. She's Elissa with two S's, Kalver, Kalver. So definitely follow her on Instagram if you're not already. Big plug for her show. Love it, love it. And you learn a lot about it. I learn a lot, just from listening to you from the patient's perspective. No,
That
I mean, listen, it's part of our job to listen and to learn from the patients. In fact, my dedication page on my book is "We wrote this together." And it's to all of my patients. And because you learn what you learn in medical school, you learn what you learn on the job, but really how to manage patients and how to meet patients where they are and give them what they need comes from you. It really does. I mean, they don't teach that in medical school, like that the fact that, patients are not going to hear 30% of what you say on the first, so you might as well write it down.
uh-huh,
And, like silly, like, on the job realistic things, or that, the fact that the patient has to wait 3 days to get her PET scan results when she knows that it's probably red. And now, maybe even worse, it pops up on the portal probably before the doctor has even seen it, right? And then the
mhm.
patient has it and they're panicking or not panicking or what have you. And the doctor hasn't even seen the scan yet. I don't know which is worse. I tried very hard to always um, put my scans like within 24 to 48 hours from when they were going to see me, so that if for whatever reason there was a problem and they were in panic mode, it wasn't that long till they had to see me.
Uh, I love that because, like, so this was a couple years ago. I had strep throat and I was coughing very aggressively, and I had some like rib pain. And so I went in to get like an x ray and stuff. Everything looked fine.
Hmm.
And then on my next bone scan,
Right.
which, was of course right before Thanksgiving,
Of course.
because now that the results go out automatically
Yeah.
on, it was like the night before Thanksgiving or something, like where I couldn't access anyone for a long weekend. I get the report pop up about, metastases to the ribs. And I open up the scan and it's lit up and it's like, I knew in my head, like, okay, maybe it's broken, like something else is showing it, but like
Right.
I already had done those x-rays. And so I luckily, what I ended up doing was I called the doctor on call, and at first they were like, you can't do a doctor on call for scan results. And so I was like, okay, can I do the doctor on call for rib pain? And they were like, yeah,
And by the way, I have a scan.
yeah, yeah. And
That
what
was so
I found,
smart.
by the way, with that is like,
Good for you.
I didn't get angry at the operator, right? Like all these people, like,
I know.
with the exception, there are some that are just rude or mean, and like in any career, right? But
Right.
like, I found for the most part, if you're like just really like genuine and honest about like how you're feeling, they can probably help
Right.
you find a way to figure it out. So
Sure.
yeah, I ended up tying it to the doctor on call, and she was like, from the looks of it, like I wouldn't know. You would need to do more imaging, but like it's just as likely that it could be a broken rib, especially
Right.
given the situation. So
Right.
I still had to go through the long weekend, and I don't recommend scans right before long weekends.
Ever.
It ended up
Ever.
being a broken rib. I didn't have new, growth, but that was an example of where I'm like, this could be really dangerous, us getting results so quickly.
Right. No, absolutely. And you know what? In a lot of ways, I don't know that it's doing the patients any real good. Because, I think if you have to sit with your PET scan results and you don't know what FDG avidity is, and you don't know what physiological means, and now you're Googling all of these words, and, and I've had patients come in with like completely annotated reports. And I feel bad for them. That's not fair. You
No.
shouldn't have to try and figure that out yourself. I mean, you need to look at it not just for what the words say, but with the education that goes behind what we're doing, right? And I think it's not fair to patients, but I guess somewhere somebody thought it was a really good idea, and patient advocacy, but I don't know. I don't know that it's doing them any good.
Yeah.
A lot of my patients would choose not to look at the reports until and the other thing I don't do, is call the patient with bad results, right? Because or good what if you get a call from me and you're not home and I leave a message, right? And then I'm not available and you can't get me or whatever, and then, you think that something really bad is going on. So I'm like, I don't call you back. I mean, if there's like a medical emergency, I'm going to call you, but other than that, like, we'll review it in person
Yeah.
together, and we'll whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, we will work it out and we'll come up with a plan together. But I've also found that over the years that no matter how much a patient thinks that they want the bad news up front over the phone as soon as possible, it really doesn't help them. It really doesn't, because if you're not sitting with me and I can feel your emotion and I can help guide you through it, I think it's, again, somewhat of a disservice. It's almost like dumping news on somebody, like, oh no, the scan's not really that good. I'll see you Tuesday. We'll talk about it.
Totally, totally. I agree. Scanxiety is a complicated subject, and I think our instinct is like we just want all the information as soon as possible, but sometimes that information doesn't make us feel better either. Like even if
Right,
it's not bad results, like sometimes it's non-conclusive or we need more scans and like
right,
if someone told you in advance, like here's the exact timing of when you're going to find everything out, but like we can never know that. And
right,
so I think, without
right,
that foresight, that's where community comes in so strong too. Like that's when I'm in my group texts with like my fellow, breasties and metastatic friends, and
right,
we're
right.
all comforting each other through stuff. And it's in those chats where we're like, all excited, like meeting our heroes like you, and at Camp Breast, like Dr. Toplinsky and Dr.
Yeah.
Potter. We're like, oh my God, like these are our heroes. Like those are the celebrities to us who live with this. And so thanks for being a part of that.
Oh, absolutely. When I left my academic clinical practice, which I think I told you is because I had my own medical issue, but um, I mean, it's a calling. It's something that it's a passion of mine to help people. And I have all this knowledge and experience and expertise. And yeah, I'm so excited to help people and get it out there. It's tough. Believe it or not, it's a little competitive to even like try to help.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Believe it or not, I was so excited to speak at Camp Resties. That was great.
It was awesome. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I was excited to see too, like after your talk, how many people waited in line to talk to you.
Yeah.
I thought you did such a good job at without giving like individual advice, it felt
Yeah.
very
Thank
targeted.
you.
Because
Oh,
I
good.
think that a lot of what you choose to focus on is more universal, like than
Mhm.
people would think. And there's not many
Right.
things that are like, but I really enjoyed hearing the different aspects that you're bringing up too, because
Mm.
there's so much floating around that we never know what to look more into or not. And so
Right.
you know,
Right.
when an actual doctor that we that we respect is talking about
Right.
it, like, okay,
Sure.
this is worth our time. If
Yeah.
we filter through all this ourselves, which a lot of times we do, but like
Right.
it's impossible. We're all going to end up following just different advice and different things. And like we're talking about social media, a lot of the voices that we shouldn't be listening to are the loudest.
I forget, I read some statistic that, it takes, 10 times, 100 times more effort to flatten a misguided,
Mhm.
person. So somebody gets up there and everybody tells everybody mammograms cause cancer. Don't get mammograms. They're not good for you. They're terrible, blah, blah, blah. the ability, what we need to do to circumvent that or overcome that is insane. It's ridiculous. And so it's very upsetting to me. And it's also very upsetting that I feel like a lot of people that are giving medical advice to people are also not MDs. They're not doctors.
Yeah.
They're, I mean, again, I think everybody has a role in this, but I think that, there's something very specific about medical school, residency, fellowship. I mean, it took me 13 years to get here. You can't replace that with a certificate in nutrition. I'm sorry.
And it
You just
affects
can't.
us no, and it affects us directly as patients because,
Mm,
like, when there are these doubts or misinformation or other things, that affects potential funding. That affects clinical
yeah,
trials and other stuff, and we're seeing that in real time.
yeah, yeah,
As someone who's alive because of these things, like,
right.
I know that they're there, but I also like try to look at from the other perspective, and empathize with the fact that these things are so horrifying for people on the
Hmm.
outside. Like I identify that I'm living a lot of people's worst nightmare. And so a lot of it is like trying to balance that, but to offset a viral claim like
Right.
or like
Said much better than I did, but yes.
sunscreen causing cancer, like, oh my God, like we need
Wait,
to
what caused cancer? I didn't hear what you said.
there was a big, and it might still be, I don't know, about like sunscreen causing cancer. So then, people are then, not wearing sunscreen. And it's like,
Right,
okay, we're playing whack-a-mole here in a lot of ways. We gotta like
right,
reel this
right,
in. And
right,
also keeping in mind that like there's just so many variations to that, but one person can make a headline claim and they
right.
can take away years of research or so much other efforts being done by so many amazing organizations, doctors,
Yeah,
hospitals, and like that, for millions of people who might see it, just knock it
right,
down. And
right.
that's might stick with someone, and that's scary.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a problem.
I am
We
real
good.
quick, they have to come in for the showing.
Okay.
Trying to think of the best thing to do. Can we pause? And I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out where we can go. We can't like pause and pick back up after it, can we?
I don't know, maybe. I could also, I mean, I have an editor, so if need be,
Okay.
they could also splice it together. I'm so sorry, honey, it's my fault.
No,
Um,
no.
I still wanna talk to you about your story. Like, I was trying to loop back to
Yeah. Are you
breasties and
are you
talk about your
still
story.
available? Like if we
Yeah,
pick like
I'm
30
supposed to go out to dinner it's at, like, 6, so just
Oh,
text me
okay.
whenever. Text
Okay.
me
I'll
when
text
you're
you.
free.
Okay. Thank you so much. All
Oh, of
right.
course. Alright. Take
Bye.
care. Thank you, Alyssa. Bye. Okay, editor, we are resumed recording. So, one thing I definitely want to talk to you about, I know I've had you online already for a long time, but I want to hear a little bit about the workshop that you ran at the Breasties camp. I heard it was really wonderful. Writing and storytelling?
Thank you. I had so much fun. So it was a writing workshop around how to tell your story. And then as I was preparing for it, I was like, it can't only be about writing. Like, well, I've written my book and I'm so proud of it. And it was a great
Mhm.
experience for me.
Mhm.
I would say, like, for me personally, writing isn't my favorite way to tell my story. Like, I enjoy most doing a keynote, on a
Uh-huh.
stage or recording the videos and things for social media.
Sure.
And so what I mainly did in the workshop was ask everyone to kind of write down like all the different ways they tell their story
Mhm.
and to think through which ways are their favorite. Because I think so much of like what we do is we think, well, I'll do it this way because that's how I think it should be done. And I think it's natural to assume like journaling, writing articles or a book, like that's the way that you put your story out.
Sure.
The responses people had were I couldn't have guessed them. Like it was
Wow.
because it's beyond what I would do. And people were explaining, their experience in dance and how they did a dance performance to as the part of telling their story. And
Wow.
someone who got into photography during treatment and is doing an art show now
Wow.
about her story. And it was like so neat because
Right.
it even felt validating and inspiring to me to be
Right.
like, oh, these are a lot of ideas I wouldn't have even thought of.
Right.
And how special, because I always think about like people say a lot, if one person, benefits from me telling my story, then it's worth it. And I'm always kind of like, that's ridiculous. More than one person is going to benefit from you telling your story. Like,
Right. Sure.
people benefit just learning more about breast cancer or finding out, I was 34 when I was diagnosed, I'm 39 now. Just people learning, who I went to high school with and other stuff that they could possibly get it. Like, they're benefiting by getting checked or by
Right.
knowing that knowledge.
Sure.
So it was really fun, and it was fun hearing like what really resonated with everyone else. And I hadn't done that before in a workshop style. I've done
Mhm.
that as a part of my keynote, like where I'm presenting, but having
Uh-huh.
it be a conversation was really, really special.
I didn't realize you did keynotes. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite stages that you've been on?
I mean, I've had some cool opportunities to speak to crews at Amazon and things like that, which felt really special since, essentially our nonprofit is like a nonprofit tech startup. So
Uh-huh.
a lot of what resonated in that was pretty neat of like
Uh-huh.
explaining the platform. I got to speak at Roger Wood Johnson University Hospital out
Oh,
in
wow.
Jersey
That's
last
great.
October. Yeah, it was really great. And kind of like going back to the social media thing, there was someone in the crowd who's a patient there who came to the event and came up to me after, and like we had been talking on Instagram since like the past 4 years, and it was just
Wow.
cool how that kind of connects. But
That's
yeah, I
great.
don't
Yeah.
get to tell it.
I
Yeah.
can imagine you're a terrific speaker. I would love to see you
Thank
speak.
you.
That'd be great.
What
Um,
I get so excited about the keynote stuff is like, I of course love telling my story and other pieces, but once I kind of learned more about keynote speaking, being able to tie that in, like I talk about my career was in financial services and corporate retirement plans.
uh-huh.
So I talk about like doing a life audit the way we do 401k audits, and I bring in other pieces and other stories. So, of course, there's the piece, and I can talk about my story, but I have a couple different keynotes, and it's more around this idea of working, leading, and living like it matters.
I love that. I love that. There's somebody, one of another person that I've met through my journey as a social media person, advocate, sort of, Jen Greenwald. Have you ever met her?
We haven't met,
Do
no.
you know she has a great she has a great platform also, and she just did a I thought of her because she just did a TEDx a couple days ago, and so how about TEDx? Are you gonna go for that?
I would love to. I have to start, I guess, looking into those. But I have a manager now who's been phenomenal, and I feel like the more that we get to tell our story, whether it be on stages, articles, interviews, podcasts, like the more that we get to make the impact, and that's
Sure.
really, like, the goal.
That's great. That's really great. You have been just such a pleasure to have on today. I really appreciate all of that you've shared with us and all of your wisdom and all that you've been through and how, oh my gosh, you are just a really admirable person. Are you always smiling like this?
You know, I definitely smile through the hard times quite a bit.
Mm,
I'm a human too, and I get sad
yeah,
and all that stuff also. But I don't know, like I said, the community piece to me has been everything. That even when things have been the hardest, I've felt like I wasn't afraid to speak up about it, and that's been a big safety net for me. There
sure.
was the point about a year into my diagnosis where I had a recurrence in my left breast and in my brain. And that I went on a clinical trial that was a combination of Enhertu and tucatinib. And it worked so amazing. Like I didn't know, just like things like learning once you have cancer, I never would have imagined in a million years that I could get rid of brain tumors without having brain surgery. And that just blew my mind, and it was amazing.
That's
But
amazing.
it crushed me. Like
I
it
was
was
going to say that's a tough regimen. That's a
it
rough
was
catnip's tough.
this was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So since I was in the trial, there were certain like anti-nausea meds I couldn't take that like
Mm,
right now they would never do without them.
right.
So that was like the one time where I went through several months of just like severe depression. Like I realized I never knew what being depressed felt like until that time.
Mhm.
And that's like a big piece that I write about, where I just realized that I know I said at the beginning of diagnosis, like, I'll do whatever it takes, like I'll get through
Right.
this. And that's when I was like, I actually won't do whatever it takes because I'm like breathing and I'm alive, but I am not living. It was painful to exist, you know?
Mm,
And that's when I really was like, we need to be able to prioritize the actual life part more
mhm.
than I think we even do. And so that's been a huge part of the whole, thriving, not just surviving, living, not just staying alive.
Right.
And, I think I always felt that way, but to some extent, but I didn't get it until that. And so
Mhm.
reframe things a lot. So
Yeah.
lots of reasons to smile, but then like lots of reasons to like know that it's okay to feel feelings when you feel them too.
Right. Right.
And that's been what I think has helped me smile more, like makes me happier because I know that like I'm not putting on an act. I don't have to fake it because no one wants me to or
Right.
expects me to. And if
Right.
they do, then too bad for them.
See ya. See ya.
We gotta show up, meet us where we're at.
No,
You know?
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Wow. What a wonderful conversation. Really, what a thrill. We'll have to have you on again. Maybe we'll do some more scientific type stuff. We'll talk about some of the advances and some of your
Oh,
thoughts on some of the things that have been coming out, like ctDNA, your thoughts on that. So, got some interesting stuff we could definitely talk about. So, there'll be a part 2.
awesome. Well, I'm here. You let me know when and where, which is here.
There you go. Here.
Sure.
And
Appreciate
here we
it
are.
so much and all that you do for our community. Thank you.
You too, Alyssa. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.